Could they really be trade deadline buyers? What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk Buffalo. Before we get into this episode, I want you guys to make sure you check out my new Teespring store. The link is in the description below. Every single purchase you guys potentially make helps me level up this podcast. Also, remember to like and subscribe if you guys like what you're hearing. I appreciate every single subscriber that I get. And also make sure you react with me in the comments below. I love interacting with people on my videos that I make. So let's jump into things. Before we go any further here, I know that it is usually absolutely absurd for a bottom-feeding team to potentially be buyers at the trade deadline, especially one that is so far out of the playoffs. However, there's a few players that are being rumored to be on the trade deadline block, or the trade block, that I would really be interested in the Buffalo Sabres going to get, as they would help the Sabres take another step in their rebuild moving forward. Now, Buffalo has a plethora of picks in the upcoming draft, including 3 first-round picks. They're likely to get a bunch more picks with offloading a bunch of UFAs coming trade deadline time. I'll probably do another video about that also. However, I think that the Buffalo Sabres have a ton of young talent, not only on the Buffalo Sabres team itself, but in the entire organization. So I think it would benefit the Sabres to bring in a couple of veterans to help make sure the ship is continued to be steered in the right direction. Now, do I believe that the Buffalo Sabres should use some of their draft capital potentially from the pending UFAs coming up and the fact that they already have 3 first-round draft picks in this upcoming draft? Absolutely. There are a couple of players that I believe the Buffalo Sabres should go after that are rumored to be on the trade block. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not a fan of doing what the Buffalo Sabres have already done, and that is completely botching a rebuild under Tim Murray. We have seen what happens when you try to completely rush things and just blow all of your prospects and give away all of your draft picks that you made when you tried to start the rebuild in the first place. It just simply didn't work out. Not that these players were not good players, but the fact that they just never seem to gel well together. I'm just not a fan of the Buffalo Sabres trying to do that once again. I think the Sabres are following a very good formula that they have right now. They're letting all of the young kids play and grow together. And I think that that is going to be very, very beneficial for the Buffalo Sabres. As time goes on, you're going to be able to build together. They're going to learn how to win together. And that is going to make the Buffalo Sabres organization strong once more. I think, however, that the Sabres should just bring in a few guys, not necessarily veterans, but guys that have a lot of a decent amount of NHL experience to help continue to steer the ship in the right direction. So here's 3 players that are rumored to be on the trade block that I believe the Buffalo Sabres should go after. The first player is a bit of a reach. I know that this is a very, very unlikely trade. And I mentioned his name last year around trade deadline time. I wanted him as part of the Taylor Hall deal. Unfortunately, we got Anders Bjork instead. I thought to myself that this player would be a very good player, a very good middle 6 player for the Buffalo Sabres moving forward. And that is 25-year-old Jake DeBrusk. Now, Jake DeBrusk has a cap hit of $3.675 million. Of course, that doesn't really mean anything to the Buffalo Sabres. And yes, I know that trade deadline time is usually a time for rentals. However, if the Buffalo Sabres could pull off a trade, they would continue to have DeBrusk's rights as he is an RFA, and he would be one of the guys that would help continue to push this team forward. He has an opportunity, if the Buffalo Sabres can re-sign him, they would obviously have the first chance to re-sign Jake DeBrusk. He could be a solid middle 6 forward, as I mentioned, and he has shown the ability to score at the NHL level already. He has had a couple of 40-plus point seasons. He's had a season in which he almost scored 30 goals. He had 27 goals a few short seasons ago. And even if he doesn't get back to his 40-plus point ways over the course of his career, he is still a player that is on pace for 29 to 30 points per game over 82 games. That is a very solid middle six forward. That is somebody that you can put on your number 2 power play. And he is not afraid to get in front of the net and really battle. He has a lot of tip-in goals, and that could really help your second power play for the Buffalo Sabres. Again, he is a young guy, so he could mesh well in with all of the young talent that the Buffalo Sabres currently have. And I think that it would be a really nice fit, as he has already expressed the fact that he wants to be traded from the Boston Bruins. It is a long shot, however, because it is the Boston Bruins. The fact that the Buffalo Sabres and Bruins are in the same division, I don't know if the Bruins would want to deal somebody who has been a big piece in their organization for the last few years to a rival that is trying to get better as time goes on. Now, the second player that I would really love the Buffalo Sabres to go look at is Lawson Crouse, left winger for the Arizona Coyotes. He is a big kid at 6'4" and 220 pounds, who is still young. He's just 24 years old, and he is also an RFA. So that means obviously the Buffalo Sabres would have first crack at trying to re-sign him, and I think that if he is given third line minutes roughly, I think that he would want to re-sign in Buffalo, as he sees that there's a lot of young talent and he could potentially provide something that the Buffalo Sabres don't currently have on their roster, and that is a physical presence. Lawson Crouse brings physicality. And not just fighting. He does have 16 career fighting majors. He can drop the gloves. He is willing to drop the gloves. However, he is a very physical young man, averaging nearly 3 hits per game throughout the course of his career. That would dramatically help the Buffalo Sabres in terms of being more difficult to play against, as the Buffalo Sabres rank dead last in hits per game according to statmuse.com. So the Buffalo Sabres are severely lacking any sort of physical presence on their team, and Lawson Crouse would provide that, along with the fact that he is a pretty solid player in and of itself. Now, Lawson Crouse has averaged somewhere around the 25 points per 82 games played, so that is a very solid third or fourth line player for the Buffalo Sabres that can bring more than just fights. He brings physicality, and he also brings a little bit of scoring with him. Now, the third player that I believe the Buffalo Sabres should absolutely entertain going after is goaltender Alexandar Georgiev. He is just 26 years old. He is an RFA, and with Buffalo having both Dustin Tokarski and Craig Anderson as UFAs, the Sabres could potentially look to extend Georgiev and have him be a 1-2 combination with Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen moving forward next season, as UPL has shown that he looks like he is ready to assume that, maybe a split time type of situation with somebody like a Georgiev, who has had a very solid career in and of itself. He has a career save percentage of a .910, and he also has a career wins of 50, career record of 50, 45, and 11. Realistically, I think that Georgiev and UPL could help solidify the Buffalo Sabres and kind of help them take that next step, as I mentioned before, for the Buffalo Sabres. Now, realistically, come trade deadline time, I know that the Buffalo Sabres are most likely not going to be buyers. When you are this far out of the playoffs, it is more likely that you are sellers. You're going to sell off all of your UFAs and hope to get back a bunch of draft capital and prospects. However, I think that the Buffalo Sabres are in a unique situation in that I believe that they could potentially use the draft capital that they already have and attempt to get one of these players that could help them moving forward. A hockey trade, if so to speak, to help the Buffalo Sabres moving forward. I think that they would be very, very smart to try to attain one of these three players, as all three of them would bring something different to the Sabres organization. Each one of them would have their own pros and cons, and I think that the Buffalo Sabres, again, would be very, very smart to potentially look at making a hockey trade at the trade deadline. That's going to do it for this video, guys. Remember to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you guys never miss a video. Remember, I do videos every single week. I talk Bills, I talk Sabres, I talk UB Bulls, men's basketball and football right here on this page. I want to thank you all for watching. Have a fantastic week.